Good day. Great day, actually. This is For Another Day podcast. I am Rick. I am here today to continue the month of February as Date Your Mate month, looking at relationships and how and when they can happen. So today is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. Coming off of Valentine's Day, we are looking at reservations, regrets, and relationships. Also, a link here that I have to a article, Sanctification of Sex Linked to Heightened Sexual Satisfaction Among Religious Couples. So I'm going to break that study down for you that came out at the end of 2021 and what that really means. So let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at the article first today. This was posted up January 2nd, 2022 in scipost.org. It came out of the Journal of Family Psychology in the last quarter of 2021. So we're looking at the research being done during 2021. They're coming from previous studies that have shown that heightened religiosity is associated with reduced sexual satisfaction among committed couples. But this research actually takes a different twist on it and takes a different spin on it and finds an exception. It found an exception that religious individuals who believe that their sexual relationships with their partner is sacred, that they tend to have higher satisfaction than any other group. So let's really start looking at then what it takes for these criteria to be used in a relationship. So what this study wanted to look at was the received religious messages that couples get about sexuality. They're finding that it's connected to these stories of original sin, that it's about overcoming a barrier, that there's a natural depravity in the human body, that religion just might not be the most positive force in a sexual relationship. This came out of the University of Toronto, and they started looking at various different aspects there, various ways to help couples bond or experience pleasure or enhance their commitment to each other. And what they're finding is that this concept of religion can actually be a positive force in the relationship. So this study included 1,695 sexually active individuals and 481 couples who had been in a committed relationship greater than 2 years. And so they measured religiosity, sexual inhibition, sexual sanctification, sexual satisfaction. And what they came to find was religion has a potential to be both a positive and a negative force in the relationship, especially the sexual relationship. Those who view the relationship, the sexual relationship, as sanctified or holy, they report having a better sexual satisfaction. But if religion is not connected to the couples viewing sex as sanctified, being more religious is actually connected to lower sexual satisfaction. What's interesting is that researchers found that men's religiosity predicted their female partner's sexual sanctification, but women's religiosity did not predict their male's sexual sanctification. Men seemed to be something like gatekeepers to the sanctified sex in a relationship, as men's religiosity led to both his own and his partner's higher sexual sanctification. So, heightened sexual inhibition was associated with reduced sexual satisfaction. Surprisingly, however, feeling reluctant to act on sexual urges and being hesitant to participate in sexual opportunities did not appear to mediate the relationships between religiosity and sexual satisfaction. They said in the study, we expected inhibited sexual passion to explain why more religious might be connected to lower sexual satisfaction, but we found it wasn't the case. We still need to figure out what are the other factors involved when religion is connected to lower sexual satisfaction. The researchers in the study controlled for age, relationship length, race, marital status, sexual orientation, education, income. But like all research, it has limitations, and that's why they always perpetuate we need more research. This really is a non representative study, it's one point in time. So it would be helpful to see how these findings hold up over time in that representative sampling. Religion is complicated and it can lead to a wide variety of healthy and unhealthy behaviors and attitudes. But that's where we need to continue research, but also continue more change. But this is one area where it is of interest. Being a marriage and family therapist in Texas, I do have interest. When I used to do premarital counseling, it was of interest to find those areas that hadn't been talked about that should be talked about before the marriage. And one of those key importance is religion, not just spirituality, but religion. How does it play a factor in the formation for who you are? I had a bad religious experience, so I don't believe in it. And that one partner brings that to the table. How is it going to then affect them down the road? How's it going to affect them down the road when they have children? So it is a topic that should be examined. All too often in premarital counseling, I would hear, well, where is the ceremony going to be? Oh, it's at her church or her family's church or his church where he grew up in. Very rarely would they say it's our church. It's where we want to continue. Okay. But when truly pressed, when they were a religious couple, I would ask them, what does this unity, this bonding, this marriage then mean? Is it truly the two becoming one? Is it truly not just a commitment, but a covenant between spouse one, spouse two, and spouse three being God? Are you truly looking at it as a marriage covenant, an agreement to love, honor, obey, cherish, protect, do those things for the other, to grow closer, to grow wiser together, but also for that relationship with God? One time I asked one of the brides, so what did y'all put into the ceremony? And this was in a church. And she said, well, of course, I have the song to come down the aisle with. We have a few words from our pastor, and we have the vows. It's like 15 minutes, if that, for in the church. Yeah, probably about that. No songs, No, we weren't going to do any songs. No anything else. No readings from the Bible. No, no, no. We just want to go to the reception. We want to go to the party. We want to go dance and be able to socialize with our friends and our family. And so with something like that, you question, is that commitment then a religious commitment? Do they see and open their eyes and their hearts to what God can allow? And I'm not trying to get overly churchy here, but if a heightened sexual satisfaction comes among religious couples, then this I do really needs to mean something. This I do needs to be this concept that the two do become one. And if these ideas are totally foreign to you, then it's time to ask questions. And that's what today, now, in 2022, the young adult population is falling away from religiosity in droves. Because we don't have and are not willing to truly ask the questions. And it's sad. It's so sad that they're falling away. Falling away from what has been established, not just with their family, but typically for centuries. Just because there was a bad experience at a church. Well, it's time to explain those bad experiences and move forward. It's time to make a difference. Because this relationship is already starting off on a rocky foot. With more than half ending in divorce nowadays, you're already starting off on rocky ground. So why would you not want to boost that number? Some studies are showing 68, 72% higher for marriages when it comes to religiosity. Are you willing to put in some legwork beforehand? If you have questions about this, hit me up in the comments below. Hopefully you can even, share this with others. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It helps the algorithm. But truly, as a marriage and family therapist, I'm worried about the future. I'm only one person that can help with change. But it's going to take a culture that's going to have to change. Whenever you need a cup of coffee that's always smooth and never bitter, try Cameron's Coffee. It's the closest I've personally found to the perfect roast. There are so many flavors to choose, but I always seem to reach for the breakfast blend. And for those busy weekday mornings, try the EcoPods. Click the link below to order yours today. So reservations, regrets, and relationships. It's all a important concept here that all too often with those that are dating and even those that are in relationships, they use these words way too often. You know, as relationships continue to grow and change, you can have reservations about them. You can have those questions about, is this the right person for me? Is this the person as a forever? Can this person meet my expectations of what I need, want, desire? That's where we're at as a people. We are a relational people, but seeking out relationships, people are becoming more and more shy to the fact that relationships are not healthy. Relationships are damaging. Relationships cause me anxiety. Relationships cause me depression. Relationships get in the way of me being able to, when in turn, relationships can bring you peace. Relationships can make you happy. Relationships can be the bonds that form friendships, romantic interests, that can be. You know, but with a divorce rate of more than half, and second marriages and third marriages, it goes up exponentially, all the way up to, I think it was 72% for a third marriage will fail. That's really high. People now are saying, why do I even need the term marriage? Why do I need a monogamous relationship? Why do I need to be bound by these terms? You are built by your body, your brain needing another person. When you're an infant, if you don't have that bonding to another, you will die. There was early studies done in the 1900s with orphanages in Russia where, you know, countless children were just left in cribs because there was no one to truly care for and parent and be those adoptive parents or whatever they were needing. And so they would have failure to thrive. They would actually die from the lack of touch. That's why it's so important when in neonatal ICUs, when they're like, we want you to come in and touch your child in the incubator. When you give birth, that's why they put the baby onto the mother's skin, and then now even onto the father's chest and on the skin, for those connections that are there. I mean, Conrad Lorenz, one of the early psychologists, he showed that imprinting through the ducklings, and they would follow him because they first saw him as Mama Duck instead of their true mother. And so through all this, our brains are wired for the need of connections. Sexually, we are wired for the need for another connection. Hormones are only released during certain actions of sex, of the opposite sex, in joining through that sex that happens because we need that other. It's a struggle. I know. It can be such a struggle to find a relationship, a healthy relationship, a relationship that you both have worked on, you both have cherished. And not have the regrets, not have the reservations that are there, not have the doubts. Should I leave? Should I go? But that's where, for yourself, really encouraging you this month, hashtag for it's Date Your Mate month. Really, truly start examining this relationship. Not just what's missing and what's wrong. I can get that list so easily from people coming into counseling. What are you doing that's right? What's the positive that's happened since we last talked? What's been better since we last talked? That throws clients for a loop. They've there with their list of everything that the other person did wrong. When I say that, it looks like a deer in a headlight. Luckily, I'm not an 18-wheeler coming at them. I try with compassion to look for those exceptions, to look for those things that can change them, change their relationship, and also maybe help change their spouse. Relationships are a work in progress, but hopefully a work in progress that you're willing to go ahead and pick. Now, maybe your relationship isn't the most healthy. Maybe it wasn't picked in the best way. We'll just say it as that. I encourage you, look for those opportunities to change, to improve it. And if the other person isn't willing, then how much of a relationship is that? When I have one person come in for counseling, and it really should be, of course, a couple session, they're like, I can't get him or her to come in with me. I don't think we're going to be able to change them or change the situation. And of course, I'm usually the optimist in the situation. I'm like, oh, no. There's a way. And I said, you're going to blame Rick. Whatever happens down the road through this counseling process, just blame Rick, okay? You're not to take the blame for this. I says, but what you're going to do is you're going to go to the other partner, to the spouse, and say, guess what? I started counseling, and my therapist's name is Rick. Because some of them hadn't even told their partner that I'm going to counseling. I'm going to start this. I want to fix this. I want to change this. And they've done it in secret. I was like, well, it's not even going to make a difference to them because they think you're just going and, getting a haircut or going to the grocery store. They don't know what you're truly trying to do here. And so I invite them first to go ahead and let the partner know that they're actually seeking help. But what they're seeking help to do is to change. That's what this process is about. It's not about bad-mouthing the other person, bringing up all the history of the past. It's about change. And I said, tell them, Rick wants to know right now, Is there anything that you don't want him to change that you actually like about me or the relationship? Because at this point, Rick says everything is on the board. Everything can be changed. So is there anything that you actually like or appreciate about me or the relationship that you don't want him to change? Because he doesn't want to make it worse for you. He wants it to be better. And I usually say, see what they'll say. 9 times out of 10, they'll usually come to the next session. That 1 out of 10, after 3 or 4 times, will begin to ask questions of their spouse, and that's good. And not all change as we experiment in this relationship of life works. Sometimes it does make it worse than before it gets better. But it's through that process of change and accompaniment, journeying together, that we can truly make positive, lasting change occur, especially for the relationship. So please, if you have reservations and regrets in your relationship, seek professional help. Seek someone out there to help make change happen for you. Make that relationship not of regret, but of acceptance, not of reservation, but of those positives that can build and strengthen and maybe be that forever. So please continue to support our channel, the podcast series, the research that goes into it. If you're looking for a specific topic that you'd like me to go ahead and talk about, please, by all means, comment in the section down below. If you have questions that would like to be answered on air, leave those questions either in the mailbox for the podcast or even in the comment section, and I'll include that in a future podcast event. I'm here to help. I'm here to try to make sense of headlines. I'm here to try to make a difference in the world today. I'm just one person, but one person that's willing to try. So please, if you can try to help me, hit the subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Even shop through our affiliates, because that does help. So once again, thank you for joining us today for another podcast.